The night Emma discovered the truth, rain was already drowning the city. Ruthless, cold, relentless. The windows rattled under the storm as if the wind itself wanted to warn her. Inside the small apartment she shared with her husband Daniel, silence spread like thick smoke. Only the ticking clock broke it, marking each second with a heavy reminder that time was moving. Even if her world felt like it had stopped entirely, she had not gone looking for secrets. Secrets had come for her. Emma had spent the evening sorting laundry, tired but content in the familiar rhythm of home. She loved her life, simple, ordinary, grounded. She believed in trust, in loyalty, in building a marriage through quiet devotion. For 5 years she had given Daniel her best. His shirts were always ironed, dinners made, everything in place. She believed marriage was a team, 2 hearts, 1 world. But worlds can crack quietly. At 11:46 p.m, she heard Daniel's phone buzz on the kitchen table. Normally she ignored it, but tonight, something inside her paused. Something small, something sharp. A whisper, almost, "Look." Emma walked to the table slowly, heart stumbling in her chest. The screen lit up with a notification she had never seen before. 1 more week until we move her in. She's excited. A woman's name followed. Unknown, unfamiliar, unwelcome. Emma blinked. Once. Twice. 5 years of trust trembled. Move her in? Who? Why wasn't she told? Her hand shook as she unlocked the phone. She knew the passcode, his birthday. He never hid it. Maybe he never needed to. Maybe he believed she would never doubt him. Maybe he was right until this moment. A thread of messages opened, a conversation stretching months back. Emma scrolled, and each word cut deeper than the last. She will have her own room. Emma won't be a problem. Just act like it's sudden when the time comes. Trust me. She'll accept it. She has no one else. Her throat tightened. She read again, slower, hoping she misunderstood. But truth waits patiently. They were talking about his mother. Not someone dying, not someone homeless. No tragedy excuse softened the blow. Daniel planned to move his mother into their home permanently, without asking her, without discussing, without respecting her place as wife, her marriage, her boundaries, her voice, dismissed like a detail. Emma steadied herself against the counter, breath thin and uneven. Her heart did not break in a loud shatter. It cracked silently, like ice splitting beneath winter weight. This was betrayal. Not of faithfulness, but of partnership. The kind of betrayal that makes a woman feel invisible. Daniel returned at midnight, shaking rain from his coat and humming softly, unaware that the world had shifted. He walked in expecting warmth, dinner leftovers, his wife waiting. He did not expect her eyes. Calm, too calm. "You're late," Emma said quietly, folding her arms. "Long day?" He smiled, kissed her cheek, hung up his coat. Routine. Easy. Familiar. He moved through their home like she was background, like the storm inside her didn't exist. She watched him open the fridge. Her voice found strength. "Daniel," she said, "we need to talk." He turned, brows lifting. "About what?" Emma held his gaze with fragile steadiness. "About your mother moving in." The fridge door remained open, cold air spilling like ghosts into the kitchen. He froze. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then, careful, controlled, he closed the door. "Where did you hear that?" he asked, tone too measured. "I saw your messages." A flicker in his eyes. Not guilt, but annoyance. The kind that says you saw something you were not meant to see. He leaned back against the counter, arms crossed. "Emma, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." He hesitated. She waited. The storm outside echoed through the walls. After a long silence, he exhaled. "My mother has nowhere to go. She's lonely. She needs family." She should live with us. So, you decided alone? Emma's voice trembled. You planned it for months and didn't tell me? You were going to surprise me with another woman living under this roof? My mother, he emphasized sharply. Emma stepped forward, pain sharpening her words. Daniel, I married you, not your mother. You don't get to build decisions on my life without me. His jaw tightened. You make it sound dramatic. It's normal for family to live together. You should be happy to help. Happy? To lose privacy? To lose peace? To share her kitchen, her mornings, her place beside him? Emma felt heat in her chest. Not rage, not yet, but something rising like fire preparing to breathe. You should have talked to me, she whispered. I'm not a decision to be bypassed. I'm your wife. Daniel shrugged, casual, dismissive. It wasn't necessary. You would adjust. One sentence. One knife. Her love, her sacrifices, her partnership, reduced to something bendable, manageable, ignorable. He didn't see her as equal. He saw her as someone who would adapt around his choices. Her voice steadied with cold clarity. So, I'm supposed to just accept it? Yes, he replied simply. It's already arranged. Already. The word hit like thunder. He didn't plan to ask. He planned to inform. Daniel walked past her, ending the conversation. Not by resolution, but by authority. As if the topic was closed. As if her feelings were optional. Emma remained still long after he left the room. The rain outside slowed into a soft patter, but inside her the storm only grew. Not loud, not violent, quiet, controlled, calculated. A new emotion settled into her chest. Not heartbreak, not sorrow. Intention. Daniel believed she would adapt, that she would bend. But some women do not bend. They transform. That night, while Daniel slept peacefully beside her, Emma lay awake, eyes open to the darkness. She replayed every moment of their marriage, searching for signs. She ignored. Times he dismissed her opinions. Times he made choices without her. Times she surrendered for harmony. She saw it clearly now. He bought their car without asking her. He chose the vacation destination without her input. He decided where they lived, what was next, how she felt, who she was allowed to be. Emma realized something painful but powerful. She was married yet unseen. Her voice mattered only when it matched his. Her comfort mattered only if it did not inconvenience him. Love had been replaced by expectation. A soft ache spread through her chest, but beneath it something stronger took root. She would no longer be silent. She would no longer bend. If Daniel wanted a battle, he would have one. She stared at the ceiling and let the plan form slowly, piece by piece, like stitching a wound shut with thread made of steel. She didn't want war. She wanted respect. And if she had to fight for it, she would. Quietly, strategically, brilliantly. Daniel thought she would break. He had no idea she was just beginning to rise. Night settled over the house like a thick curtain, but sleep avoided her as stubbornly as pride had earlier that evening. She lay awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling where shadows crawled like silent rumors. The old wooden fan rotated lazily above, too slow to cool the heat of her thoughts, too soft to drown the echo of her mother's trembling voice. She had promised. This time, she would not break. Her husband's words still clung to her skin like cold rain. It's only temporary. You should understand. She needs us. They sounded reasonable to anyone who didn't know the years of bitterness behind them. Anyone who hadn't seen the silent war that existed between two women tied to the same man. One by birth, the other by vows. A marriage isn't only two bodies sharing a bed. It is two histories forced to share air, and his mother carried a history sharpened like a knife. In the dark, she turned toward the sleeping figure beside her. Michael's breathing was steady, almost peaceful, like someone who believed all problems could be shrugged away by simply closing their eyes. He looked softer in sleep, boyish almost, and for a moment she wondered whether she had ever truly known him. The boy she loved 6 years ago, the one who walked with flowers behind his back and promises blooming in every sentence. Where had he gone? Who had taken his place inside this man who now negotiated loyalties like business contracts? She slipped quietly out of bed. The floor was cold under her feet as she walked toward the kitchen. Midnight tea wasn't a habit. It was survival. She boiled water, watching the blue flame dance like a warning. When she poured tea into her cup, she noticed the second cup, the one her mother-in-law used whenever she visited. White porcelain, gold rim, a small chip at the edge like a bite mark. That cup alone held years of memories. Not good ones. She could almost hear her voice again behind her. Sharp, thin, cutting. You don't cook like a wife. You cook like a guest. A house is clean when floors can reflect your face, not when a husband merely compliments it. Love is not enough to keep a man, dear, but disappointment can chase him away. Her hand tightened around the cup so hard she feared it might break. But no, that would be too dramatic, too visible. She had learned long ago the art of silent endurance. The tea steamed softly, rising like a sigh. She walked into the living room. Moonlight slipped through the curtains in fractured silver lines. She sat silently, sipping, waiting for something she could not name. The house was quiet enough to think or to drown. And then a sound. Not loud, but not imagined. A phone vibrating. His phone. Screen glowing on the sofa where he must have left it earlier. She stared at it, not with suspicion, but with the unsettling curiosity of someone who has been wronged before and is terrified of seeing proof again. It vibrated once more. A message slid across the screen. New message from Mom. Her heartbeat misstepped. She shouldn't look. She knew that. But curiosity is only harmless until it becomes evidence. She reached for the phone, not touching it. Just close enough to read what flashed before it faded. Tell her before weekend. I won't wait longer. Her breath froze, not from fear, but from the chilling clarity of realization. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't unplanned. This was arranged, discussed, decided without her. Her hands trembled, tea forgotten, heartbeat thrumming like thunder inside her ribs. Just then, footsteps dragged softly behind her. She stiffened, placing the cup down slowly. He stood at the doorway, hair tousled, sleep fading from his expression when he saw her. What are you doing awake? His voice was low, unstressed. He still didn't know she knew. She didn't answer immediately. She didn't trust her voice not to betray the storm building behind her ribs. Instead, she swallowed. When were you planning to tell me? She whispered finally. His body stilled. Only guilty men freeze like that. Tell you. What? He asked carefully. She didn't raise her voice. Quiet anger was sharper. That she's moving in. Michael breathed out, slow, like someone preparing a defense in court. I was waiting for the right moment. The right moment to change my life? She asked. No. To explain it gently. I knew you'd be emotional about it. The words struck her harder than any slap could. Emotional, as if she was irrational, as if she were the problem. She stood, the tea trembling on the table behind her. You weren't planning to explain. You were planning to announce. He rubbed his forehead. Please, don't make this bigger than it needs to be. She's my mother, and your elder. She deserves care, respect. She laughed, not with joy, but hollow disbelief. She's not coming here for care. She's coming for control. You know that. I know that. But you'd rather pretend blindness than confront it. Silence split the air. He closed his eyes, tired. She needs a place to stay. And what about me? She whispered. Do I get to stay too? Or do I become a guest in my own home? His gaze finally met hers, steady, almost cold. She's staying. Family must sacrifice. The quiet of that moment was louder than a hurricane. Something inside her cracked. Not broken yet, but ready. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She simply stepped back and nodded slowly. "Then let's see," she said softly, voice calm as poisoned honey. "Whose sacrifice begins first?" His eyes narrowed slightly, unaware she had already seen the message, unaware she had already begun to plan. But she did not argue further. Revenge is not born in noise. It grows in silence. She returned to bed, leaving him watching her like someone who had won a battle without noticing a war. She lay awake again, but this time her thoughts were not disorganized pain. They were strategy, cold, quiet, sharp. She would not stop him from bringing his mother. No, that would only prove weakness. Instead, she would welcome her warmly, too warmly. She would prepare a room for her, decorate it beautifully, serve her tea with steady hands and a gentle smile. Because victory tastes sweeter when your enemy never sees the spoon. Her eyes finally closed, not with exhaustion, but with decision. Tomorrow she would begin, not to avoid war, but to win it. The air in the room felt heavier than before. Daniel stood near the window, fingers tapping nervously against the glass. His eyes not on me, but on the shadows outside, as if answers lived somewhere out there, not between us. Silence stretched like a blade, sharp and cold, and for a moment I wondered if we were two strangers, trapped in the memory of what once felt like a home. I sat on the edge of the sofa, hands clasped tightly in my lap. I had imagined him denying everything. Imagined the fury, the shouting, the excuses. But the quiet inside this room was louder than any confession. Finally he turned. "You planned it, didn't you?" His voice was low, almost hoarse. Not angry, wounded. I didn't flinch. "You left me no choice." His jaw tightened. "You could have talked to me." "I tried," I whispered. "For months I tried." Those months came back to me like a series of fading photographs. Me standing in the kitchen asking him why the guest room was being rearranged, why his mother's clothes appeared in the drawers, why boxes kept arriving with her things neatly labelled with my home address. The half-answers, the deflections, the secrets. And then the truth. He had been preparing to move her into my home without discussion, without respect, as if I was just a body occupying space. Yet now, he wanted honesty from me. Daniel walked closer, slow and measured, as if he feared the floor might collapse under him. "So, you're meeting with her? The tea? The little speech about independence and peace? All of that was a setup?" I didn't smile. "Not a setup, a boundary. That boundary cost me my family," he snapped. "That decision cost you your marriage," I replied. Something flickered in his eyes. Anger, grief, maybe both. And for the first time I saw how broken he looked. Not defeated, not ruined. Just human. A man standing in the wreckage of choices he thought he had control over. I remembered the day his mother left the house willingly, with dignity, thanking me for seeing her as a woman, not a burden. I hadn't forced her out. I hadn't humiliated her. I gave her freedom. And indirectly, I gave myself the same. But Daniel only saw betrayal. He rubbed his face with both hands, exhaling a shaky breath. "I thought you'd understand," he murmured, voice cracking just slightly. "She's my mother. She raised me alone. I owe her everything." "And I owe myself peace," I answered softly. He stared at me, really stared, the way someone looks at a stranger they forgot they once loved. And in that moment, a truth settled between us like dust in an untouched room. We wanted different futures. He wanted loyalty. I wanted partnership. He wanted sacrifice. I wanted a choice. We couldn't exist in the same direction anymore. Daniel's voice was quieter when he spoke again. So, what now? You get your freedom and I get to be the villain. You're not a villain, I said truthfully. You're a man who forgot his wife had a voice. His breath hitched, almost invisible, but I saw it. He walked to the table, picked up the envelope I'd placed there earlier. Divorce papers, clean, simple. The final page in the story of us. Daniel held it without opening it. You still love me, he said, not as a question, but as a statement he wished could save us. Love. People think endings come when love disappears, but sometimes endings come while love still lives. Soft, flickering, exhausted. I do, I whispered, but I love myself more now. The paper shook in his hand. He looked younger suddenly, lost, unsure, like a boy searching for something familiar in a world that no longer matched his reflection. Maybe he expected me to cry. Maybe he wanted me to crumble, to apologize, to say that we could fix this. But growth means letting go of what hurts, even if it once healed you. Without another word, I stood up and walked past him. The house didn't feel like a battlefield anymore, just a place that had served its purpose. A memory. I reached the doorway before I heard his voice one last time. A whisper, raw and fragile. Will you remember me as I was, or as I became? I paused. I'll remember both, I said, because both taught me who I am. Then I stepped out, not into freedom, into clarity, not into loneliness, into myself. The wind outside was cool against my face, and the sky stretched wide and open, like a new page waiting for ink. And for the first time in a long time, I breathed without permission.